study Psorinum. The skin of Psorinum patient is rough, dirty, ugly looking, filthy and dry, cracked easily and looks as if he has not washed it. And skin of hands is also dirty looking, ugly looking, as if he has not washed it. Psorinum has all kinds of eruptions: papular, pustulars, vesicular, crusty eruptions, boils, and it has got eruptions on all parts of body. Eczema of face and scalp, hair falls out of the area, watery discharge is there which form a crust, a thick crust. Vesicles mingle and become thick, indurations, and under that indurated part new vesicles form which tingle, burn, and there is lot of itching in it. Rawness, bleeding, and the parts look like the raw beef. And the child cannot put off his hands from the eruptions. There is lot of discharge, crusty eruptions, skin become thickened and oozes out a discharge which is very offensive. Skin eruptions and discharges from the skin are very offensive, like decomposed meat. There is nauseating odor penetrating throughout the room, and the itching is violent. Itching even without eruptions. Itching when wearing the woolen clothes. Itching in warmth of the bed. Itching aggravated after warmth. There is violent itching even without eruptions. Wearing woolen clothes causes itching. In warm room, itching is aggravated. All the skin complaints are aggravated in warm room, warm application, wearing warm clothes, and that which keeps the open air away from the patient. And skin complaints are ameliorated by applying cold and in cold air. This modality is very contradictory to the general state of the patient, where the general state of the patient, he desire to be in warm room and he desire to be covered. Even in summer season, he wears cap and covers the head. This is a contradictory state. It is this contradictory symptom as regard to patient and his parts. As in chili phosphorus, the patient desires very cold drinks to his sick stomach. As a typical arsenic patient wants to cover up to chin and he wants to put his head out of window. Eruptions of Psorinum can occur on any part of body: head, face, dorsum of hand, dorsum of feet, tibia, genitals, vulva, legs, ears, behind ears, eyes, nose, wings of nose, and associated with redness of mucous membranes. Eyelids become thick and turned out like ectropion. And in the diseases of nose, eyes, and other parts, discharges are yellow, green, and horribly offensive, like Hipersal, Moxol, Cilicia, and Calcareous. Offensiveness runs throughout the Psorinum. He has fetid breath, fetid odor from the discharges, oozing so offensive discharges that the whole house is permeated with that odor. In diarrhea, in summer complaints, cholera infantum, leucorrhea, eructations, flatus, all the discharges are like spoiled eggs. It permeates the whole house. No one is able to stand near that patient. He is offensive to sight and smell. M.L. Tyler quotes a case of a young girl who was having phthisis and Her breath was so offensive and sputum was horribly offensive and green, and no one was able to stand near her. Psorinum was prescribed, and there was nothing to notice on the next visit. But what happened to that girl later on, one cannot say anything because she visited only few times. Another case of a boy who was having TB of abdomen and chest and was having horribly offensive sputum, and Psorinum was prescribed and he was cured. Cold, coryza, always taking cold. Throughout the year he suffers. He is always using handkerchief. It is closely related to the hay fever, stuffing up of the nose, cattle states of eyes and nose, which runs throughout the year and ripens in autumn. Debility is very much marked in Psorinum. He cannot breathe in open air. After a short walk or standing, he wants to go home and lie down. He wants to lie down in warm room. Usually in asthma and cardiac dyspnea, the patient is better by sitting up and in open air. But in Psorinum, the patient wants to lie down in warm room with his arm wide apart, thrown across the bed, which relieves his breathing. A psoric patient comes down with typhoid and fever run its course, and it is a time to convulsions. But patient feels very weak, always want to lie down, and there is no appetite. He doesn't recover, and a dose of Psorinum sets a reaction and cure him. Mental symptom presents some strong features. He is sad, he is hopeless, and always insecure concerning financial matters like brainia. Always anxious, always thinks that his business is going to be a failure and he is going to a poor house, though he is very rich and very sound so far as financial matters are concerned. This is a fixed idea, as if he is going to a poor house. It is a fixed idea during the daytime that always he feels that I am going to be poor, and as if I am going to be in a poor house. And at night he dreams of it. He is so anxious and always he wants to take. Always he wants to collect. Though his business is very prosperous, but he feels he is going to a poor house. He has no joy, no realization of benefits, and he is always anxious and even to suicidal tendencies. They are the people who wants to get this, that, or everything. If someone gives them food or money, they feel better for some time. They are despair of recovery. Old chronic sick headache with hunger. He has to get up at night to eat something. Eating ameliorate headache. Recurrent headache after every 1, 2 or 3 weeks. If coryza slacks up, there is headache. Headache goes and cough appear. Or headache alternates with skin diseases in winter. Intermittent and bilious fever after cold. Fever and sweat are very intense, as if in hot steam. If you put your hand under the cover, you will realize that as if your hand is in hot steam. It is so intense. It is not the dry heat of belladonna. It is a steam. He is covered with very hot, boiling sweat. His head and body is covered with hot steam. This is also in opium, but opium has a congestion of brain or apoplectic conditions. In intermittents, he is taken on the street with difficult breathing. he feels very weak, exhausted, he cannot walk, he becomes dizzy, cannot answer, he crawls up the stair, he walks on hands and feet, and he wants to go home. Chill is not marked, but heat and sweat is intense. He cannot answer, he is almost in a stupor state. Face red, puffed, and profuse sweat. With least exertion, he is cold and clammy. And this is another form of fever which comes in weak, exhausted patients. After diapers, if he turns in bed, there is sweat, profuse sweat after least exertion, cold sweats, profuse sweats of phthisis, profuse night sweats, profuse sweats of phthisis when there is very much heat under the covers. Psorinum has a tendency to hemorrhages, especially hemorrhages from uterus, all kind of menstrual disorders. After a woman has passed through abortion, when placenta has come out, but there is always a continuous flow of blood off and on. Every few days, a little gush of bright red blood oozes. There is oozing of bright red blood every time she gets up. There is a new start of oozing. And there are two remedies for this condition. One is sulfur and other one is Psorinum for permanent recovery. A marked state of relaxation and subinvolution when the uterus doesn't go back to the normal, and so there is bleeding. In regard to scalp and hair, Allen gives us a curious case of a young man of dark complexion and brown hair above the forehead, patch of white hair and white scalp was there, and Psorinum cured that patch. Sensitive to cold scalp, especially want to cover the head even in summer season, like Cilicia. Worse from getting haircut like ballerina, clonine and sepia. And Hipper is also sensitive to cold. Old gleat, last drop, a drop of white, yellow, offensive discharge when well selected remedies like sepia, alumina, sulfur doesn't work. Tuja if the odor is sweet and nauseating, and warts exposed by rolling the foreskin. To sum up Psorinum, imagine a patient with dry, rough skin as if unwashed, offensive to sight and smell, very debilitated, exhausted, and mentally very hopeless, very chilly, wants to wear the cap even in summers, and tendencies to get hay fever, recurrent cold, coryza, and tendency to get skin diseases in winter. Skin diseases are ameliorated in cold, whereas the patient is aggravated by cold and sensitive to cold. With this, good day.